Hey everybody, it's Dr. Quinn here. I am taking a look at writing assignment 2 and then we'll go back to writing assignment 1. They're bundled assignments and I want to go over them with you in this video just so you can see how I'm going to interpret the assignment, how I'm going to view the rubric, what's required for it, and I can give you some hints on best practices for this. Okay, so you're doing a set of instructions for, and I cannot emphasize enough, a local website, meaning a small mom and pop independent business. This does not mean McDonald's. This does not mean Lowe's. No chain restaurants, no big box stores, no Amazon, no online only. A local small business website. Okay, so the length, there's no minimum or maximum word count on the instructions that you're going to build toward, but we're looking for 8 or more steps. Within those, sometimes you're going to need to have little notes, and I'll show you that in one of the student examples in just a moment. To point out items to the user, these requirements are explained. So within each of those steps, every step must have a graphic, and all graphics should be screen captures, not like photos that you take, but you're on the business's website. I'm actually going to pull up a business to show you. We're going to go to Padrino's Pizza. This is a pizza place that I go to often. So for example, if I'm taking a screenshot, and I want to show the main page, I personally just go to my snipping tool and I can take a screenshot just like that. And there's my image. So I'm on a PC. I went to my search bar here and I typed snip. There are multiple ways to do that. That's just one way to do it. That would be considered a screenshot. And those are the types of images that we're asking you to put into your document. Okay? Let's go back to this real quick. So in this assignment, it's not just that you're going to have a set of instructions, but you're also, for writing assignment 1, that prefaces this one, you're going to create 3 personas. These are fake people, but people you imagine that have widely different skill sets that are going to try to use, in my case, like Padrino's website. Okay. Your graphics, not only are they screen captures, but they need to be labeled figure 1, figure 2, and so on. And you're going to give them a title. Figure 1, homepage. Figure 2, checkout, that kind of thing. All right. You can do this from a mobile site, but you're going to have to take screenshots off of your phone, and that's a little bit more labor intensive, but you can choose to do that. You're only going to have one set of instructions for all 3 personas. They're all 3 using the same website. So you can access this information. If we go to let's go back to, let me get out of my view here, and I'm going to view as a student so you can see this exactly the way that I see it. So on this assignment, we've got, you can click on content right in Leo and you're going to find the sample papers. So sample of, we've got 2 different sample writing assignment 1, and you can tell they're bundled together because this would be the sample of the personas for the use of that website. This is the sample for elderly instruments personas for the use of that website. So these guys are bundled together and they're duplicated. If we go to week 1 content, they're duplicated right here under week 1 discussions. You're going to see the elderly instrument samples and the Maryland print house samples. So let's go back to this. So that's where you can find that information. And even there's a video from my boss in here that talks about those assignments. And so there's multiple opportunities for you to see discussion of the content listed. Now, keep in mind, I'm going to be pretty strict about this, and the website must be a local or regional organization. And the reason for this is you can't use Amazon, you can't use Shine, you can't use eBay or Etsy. And the idea behind this, those big corporate sites have robust IT departments who have created FAQs and how-tos, so the information is already available. We want you to imagine you're working as a tech writer and you've been hired by this business to create these types of documents for them. So keep that in the back of your mind. Let's see. Yeah, local hardware store that's not a chain would be acceptable. A mom and pop bookstore. I think the gold standard here for this assignment, and I've been teaching this assignment for quite a few years now, is a local independent restaurant or cafe. Clothing boutique would be fine. But I think restaurants and cafes are really the gold standard. Okay, so let's see here. Some examples of topics are the following: how to order a pizza from a pizzeria, how to order a particular dish from a Korean restaurant, and so on and so forth. Again, a lot of this information is redundant, meaning it's just repeated a couple of times. So while this instructions document feels long, it really isn't. Here's an example of a step, starting with the imperative, select, and then bolding the action, choose file, and attach your document, then with an accompanying note. Not every step needs a note. You must have at least 8 steps. Sometimes you'll have a few more, depending on how the website is designed, but you only need notes once in a while. Okay. So you can see how these figures are labeled. Figure 4, choose file, choose file. I'll show you in the student samples what that looks like. Your instructions need to have a title. I need to know that it needs to be overview or introduction with background information on any user. You're not including your personas in the instructions. You're not saying, well, Bob would do X, but Clara would do Y. It's just what would be put on the website for people who are Luddites, people who are as comfortable using the web, or may have a particular reason to use that website, but a generic couple sentences overview of the business is what the overview is calling for. The instructions themselves number all the main steps. If you have sub-steps, shift to, like if your steps are numbered 1, 2, and 3, and within that you have step 1A, step 1B, you can shift to A's and B's for the sub-steps. At the very end, you're going to have a section with a description of the personas. Okay, so we've got different guides and help with procedures and then due dates. So when we look at the writing assignment 1, these are the people that you're going to create to use that website. You're going to think of varied people, different ages, different technical skill sets. And the purpose of this is if you are writing instructions for a business, you have to think about the widest variety of users that will potentially use the site. So this allows you some creativity to think about who may use it and what different goals they have and what different pain points they may have. So for a restaurant, you may have a user whose pain point is they have an allergy. And whose goal is to order a particular type of dish, but they have to alert the kitchen about the allergy. We again have sample papers that I'll go over in just a moment. The length for each persona is 120 to 250 words. Age, background, goals, and pain points will cover the 120 to 150 words. The approach is, this is why I started with writing assignment 2. Get familiar with the website and then think about, well, who may want to use this? So for a pizzeria, who may want to use it? Maybe somebody who's the coach of a team and they want to have the pizza cater their last game of the season. Then you may have a recently widowed gentleman whose wife used to do all the ordering, but that was their favorite pizza to eat together, and he misses her and he's going to order pizza. But he's not as familiar maybe as the coach is. And then maybe you've got somebody else who wants to, whose goal is to order ahead, and they've got some maybe special ordering instructions because they have some picky eaters. So you've got different people with different goals, different skill sets. If everybody who's using Padrino's website is somebody with a technical background, they're not honestly going to need the instructions. So you have to think of people, regular people who aren't computer science, cybersecurity majors who want to order a pizza as well. Maybe somebody who was recently injured and can't go and pick it up, and want to order for delivery, certainly. But that's something that they've never done before. They're used to doing X on the website, but now they have to do Y, and it's different. So with the personas, you're going to build a summary of each person in a couple sentences. This isn't like a page for each person. This is like a nice chunky paragraph per persona, and that's all we're looking for. The website, it needs to be the same for all 3, goals for them, and one unique situation or pain point. So in this assignment, one of the things that I always tell students to do, and of course I navigated away from it by looking at the activities and assignments. I'm going to go back here. Let's go to the personas. And when you're in here, I want you to note that I just went over the PDF of writing assignments 1 and 2, just in a general sense. And I'm always more than willing to work with students during a Zoom meeting if you have questions and you want to go over it personally. But look over not just the PDF overview, but how the assignment's going to be graded. So for example, it's broken into component parts. Writing assignment 1's personas is going to be graded by, did your personas feature a summary with the person's name, occupation, location, and age? Did you include the website, right? That's like almost a gimme, but tell me the name of the website and the URL. Do they have the goals and do they have the pain points? And of course, did you proofread it, right? For the sentence level work, and pay particular attention in your writing of these assignments, and note that AI does a really bad job of this, and it becomes pretty obvious pretty quickly if a student is shifting to AI usage. I want to see your writing. I don't want to see AI. So look at my AI rules for both of the assignments. Let's now go to writing assignment 2's grading rubric. This one is much more involved because the assignment has a lot of moving parts. Now, did you have 8 or more steps? Did your steps start with an imperative verb? Imperative verbs are click, download, open, view, choose. Starting with that, right? That your steps are numbered like in a logical way, and the steps provide clear instructions. In this assignment, more does not equal better. We don't need a paragraph for each step. That's going to distract users and pull them out of it. But note, when you build your draft, the most important thing you can do is actually use the rubric as a checklist. And this is true for every assignment, right? Are your steps clear? Do they help with how to complete a task? Are there at least 2 notes? You'll notice it's really easy for me. If a student has no notes, they get no points. I can't intuit something that, oh, you meant this to be a note. You need to label it very explicitly. This is why a technical writing class is so important, because we need to teach people, especially if they're going into computer science, or they're going into business, or they're going into HR, you're often going to have to create instructions documents for users that are going to have different backgrounds and bump outs and all of that. And so doing this by hand now without the use of AI will benefit you later when you can, because then you've had the practice, you know what these documents look like, and then you can fix all the problems that the AI tends to add. Listen, I was a paid technical editor and writer for over a decade, and I can tell you now that even current use of AI to create like a schedule just for myself is often more work than it would have been had I done it independently. So AI is not good enough yet to do this on its own. You need to do this on its own. Okay, so no AI use in this class for gradable material. If you're asking a question that helps you study and research, well, then you get a chance to view the AI, and you have to measure whether it's hallucinating and faking information or if it's being real. But that's on you. But for graded writing assignments, please take a look at the announcements and my notes on AI. Okay, and you'll see those notes this week for sure. Okay, this assignment needs to have an overview. You need to have at least 8 graphics, 1 graphic for each step. How clear those graphics? Are they aligned like the same place on the page? I'm going to do a separate video to go over writing assignments 1 and 2 and what they look like with the Maryland Print House and with the elderly instruments. Are they original screen captures, and are they labeled? All of this is highlighted in the assignment, but now you get a chance to be reminded of each one and to show not just what I'm required to grade for, but the value of it in relation to the point value in total. Does the document have white space? Is everything smushed up together, or is it sort of spread out nicely? And then is proximity, is step 1's description near step 1's labeled figure, right? And then, of course, did you just sort of grammar check? Are you consistent? Are your steps in full sentences? Are you using periods? Are you consistent with your capitalization? That kind of thing. And then finally, at the very end of this assignment, we've got description of how the instructions accommodated the persona. And I'm going to open one of the samples just very briefly to show you what that looks like. And I'm going into Maryland Print House. So there's a title. There's the background information, the starting of the steps, step 2. You'll notice that this one did not include a step. So these instructions samples aren't perfect. And I definitely want you to take a look at my review of the samples in week 1's discussion. I'm going to do videos for that too. But then you can see step 2 with figure 1. Normally, if you have a step for each image, step 1, figure 1, step 2, figure 2. And you can see the figure number and title and the figure label. You can see how the image is a screenshot and how it's edited to guide the eye. Now we've got more steps, and of course I'm gonna give you a review of these in the next upcoming image at the very end. Now, don't include a URL for every website, or every subpage, just the main one. And of course, there's the personas being accommodated. I'll go into more detail in the upcoming videos.